everyone. My name is Amber Gunston. I'm the CEO of Austin Technology Council, and it is my greatest pleasure to have our former board chair and the CEO of SailPoint, Mark McLean, here with us today for our ATC interview. Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm well, Amber. Great to see you.
Always good to see you too. Better in person, though.
Oh, of course.
So I read this summer your book that you wrote, Joy and Success at Work. Very different from all other books, and it was refreshing. Talk to me a little bit about why you came up with that format and what you really like about it.
Yeah, thanks. And I highlighted, I think this in the forward, that there was a book that was well-known business book 60 years ago or something now that younger folks may not know, called Up the Organization, which I'd actually always heard of and never read. And I did, because the folks I worked with in the publishing group kind of said, hey, we have this idea to use this format. And I laughed when I got through it. I'm like, oh, he was way ahead of his time. This was a collection of blogs, basically, right? Because when folks talk to me about a book, I said, I'm kind of intrigued by that. I don't have time to do this right now. Solve that with some help. Obviously, a little bit of folks who help capture ideas and take first drafts and let me work them from there. But the other side of it was, I said, to my mind, a business book, you have to have like one big idea and 3 big sub ideas and then 4 sub ideas to those. And that's how you get a 12 chapter business book. I'm like, I don't have that one big idea or those 3. Yeah. But I said, I got ideas on a lot of topics that I can kind of throw out. And they're like, oh, we could use this format. And then they proposed that. I'm like, oh, that's fun. That sounds great. I could do that. And I love the idea. And we borrowed that from that original guy, Robert. I just blanked on his name, Robert something. But the idea, like, everything I know about this in 5 minutes or less, right? Like every chapter is like 5 minutes or less of reading. I'm like, perfect. I could keep things to 5 minutes or less. That's perfect. I could do that. So yeah, it was actually quite a fun process.
Well, good. Now, what was the hardest part about getting started with the process? Because it's always that you see that cursor on that first page, and how do you get going from there?
Yeah, I kind of worked this with our marketing and PR team, some great folks I've had the pleasure to work with for years here at SailPoint, and kind of said, I don't know how I can get to this, like we said a second ago, and we'll work you with a team. And the way we structured it was kind of how I've done a decent amount of things here at SailPoint, blogs and other things, like, wonderful team. So I'll interview, I'll talk with them. We'll just have a conversation. They'll come back with bullets or maybe even a first high level draft. And then I always say I can claim writing because I either wrote and or edited every word before we release these things with my name on them. So I'm like, yeah, I can talk out loud, think thoughts, and then somebody could capture that. And then, let's structure this a little differently. It's just getting over it, like you said, Amber, that sitting down with the cursor thing, like, okay, let me just talk about this topic because I've lived it for 40 years as a business guy or whatever, not quite 40, but close. And how can I just capture some of my thoughts on this? And then it would almost kind of form its own structure as we got into it. It was really fun. And as I said all throughout the book, I'm actually borrowing and repeating a lot of great ideas and just kind of packaging them in one place. A few probably are somewhat original, but a lot of them are just some of the best stuff I've learned. And like, here, all together, this will help you, right? So it's fun. Just gotta, like you say, I love your phrase, just let it go. I hope it'll help people. If a few people don't like it, I'll live with that. That's sort of where I landed, I think, finally.
Well, I liked you a lot more even after that, and I already liked you a lot before. So you brought up your family, and you talk about your family, and you talk about your faith in the book. And I've met your wife, Marge, and she is just lovely and wonderful. And I've heard enough about your kids and your grandkids to feel like I've met them. But I mean, the voice in this is so authentic, and I've met a lot of people who've written books from the autobiography standpoint, and they're so different in real life than they are in their book. How were you able to kind of harness that?
Well, that's a good question. This will sound trite, I think. I hope it doesn't. I don't sort of know any other way. I kind of gave up trying to write with the pretension or let me be the authority and I feel like I've learned some stuff. I got some gray hair now. Theoretically, I've learned some stuff. Although one of my favorite life phrases, Amber, probably said it to you before, is never confuse 20 years of experience with 1 year of experience repeated 20 times, right? Like, I feel like I've actually learned some stuff along the way, i.e. I've made mistakes, learned from them, hopefully gotten better at some stuff. And so I think it was like, well, I'm just going to tell people what I've learned because I really have this desire to help next generation, younger people, ideally make different mistakes. They won't not make mistakes. I just like to help them not make some of the mistakes I made by focusing on the wrong things or getting a little off track or valuing certain things over other things. And sadly, there's a sad side of this is I feel like at this point in my life and career, I know people who didn't either keep their life in balance or focus on some of those issues of family and faith and fitness and health. And like, yeah, they had some amount of success probably in some dimension, but not necessarily, quote, a successful life. And I was trying to help people, like, you can have success, I guess, financial, career, if you want to define that, but you can also have a lot of fun and feel good about it and feel a sense of satisfaction. And I really want more people to have that experience, is really my hope.
Well, and I think, one of the aspects that really resonated with me was you were talking about how early on you were hyper focused on your career, and that Marge actually sat you down and said, this is not working.
Yeah.
So
I
you're going to change, or I'm going to make a change. And that made me like her so much more, because that is a really hard thing to say to your spouse. And so it gave me a lot of respect for the marriage that you have with her, the fact that you also listened to her, and it was definitely, you were showing us that you walk the talk in this book. So kudos on that.
Thank you. No, Marge, I would not be where I am without my wonderful special wife. So yeah, it's about, and I try to model that hopefully in other ways of listening to the wise people around me, above me. And I do more mentoring. I'm getting older. I have more, and I'm like, but I always try to explain to these younger people, like, look, we're having a two-way conversation. I'm not just dumping my stuff on you and you should just take notes. We're having a conversation. I'm expecting to learn some things from you, right? There's wisdom all over the place, right? And I think that's that mindset of just continuing to learn and grow, and that's I'd like to do that until I'm not here. That's my goal.
We had a lot of conversations as I took over ATC. You were a great mentor for me, and helped me make a lot of really difficult decisions that are not easy to make, especially the first time that you're set up to make them. Talk to me about the best lesson that you learned, either personally or professionally, that really kind of carried you forward and helped you find success in your life.
Yeah, no, I'll be repetitive in this sense. Since you read the book, I fall back on the golden rule quite often. I'm like, if all else fails, see the golden rule, right? I think in life, at work, if you focus a lot on thinking about treating others the way you'd like to be treated, wow, a lot of our problems would diminish, right? Like, if you have that kind of others oriented, we can quote all kinds of business buzzwords: servant leadership, humble, hungry attitude, right? That idea of how do I think about others? I'm trying to achieve things myself. I'm trying to get things done. But if I think about how others want to be treated as we work together in any setting, or live together, or live neighbors, or church friends, or other community social things, like, if you're just always kind of thinking about how others are around you, this whole emotional intelligence thing is a big buzzword now, right? Like, if you just focused on, if I treat people the way I'd like to be treated, and I don't like to be treated badly, most of us don't. So therefore you kind of solve a lot of problems, because you're giving people freedom and encouraging them, and yet holding them accountable, doing hard things. You and I talked about doing some hard things at times. That's part of it. Sometimes you have to tell people it's time for a tough decision, or it's time to make a hard call, but I'm here with you. Let's get through this together. That's what you want, right? You want people that are supporting and encouraging you through these things. So yeah, like I say, a lot of these life lessons are not hard to intellectually understand. They're quite hard to live out all day, every day. It's not an intellectual challenge, it's a living challenge. So I think that's the encouragement. Just keep focusing on how you actually treat people day in, day out, and life will be a lot better.
One question I like to ask CEOs of successful companies, and SailPoint has had a lot of success in Austin, is why you chose Austin. You could have done this anywhere. Why our wonderful, beautiful little community?
Well, I suppose the first honest answer is I was already here. I guess that's fair. I did come for Tivoli in the 90s, and I'd been here a few years, and kind of found a group of guys that I really loved working with at Tivoli. We founded Waveset, then a few of us after that journey did SailPoint. So some of it was I was already here. But a better answer to your question is I'd learned a lot about what I love about the Austin culture, right? It's got a creativity and an energy and an innovative sense. So that's the part we get compared to, particularly the left coast, sometimes both coasts, the energy and the intensity and the high tech focus and yada. But we're still kind of the South/Southwest. So there's kind of a warmth and an openness and a how can I help you culture here that really wasn't always true when I lived in California, honestly. And so I think that's the blend, that's some of the magic of Austin. Great professionals, super deep technology understanding, a lot of great experience at this point, people who've done a lot of great things, combined with kind of this generally good attitude about how can we help each other succeed. You know that at ATC, I mean, there's just this kind of like, how can we join together and help people? I just think we get a lot of that in our culture in Austin. And I think that's why it is a really fun place to build a business at the end of the day. You're kind of working with really great people to build a great business. That's fun.
Mark, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. It's going to be even more of a pleasure to see you in person again.
Yes.
Soon.
Are we all looking forward to getting out of our caves? Yes.
Hey, nothing gets me more excited than the thought of having an ATC in-person event again and getting to see our members. That's the one thing I wake up and look forward to every single day. So
exactly. Well, it was a fun chat.
Thank you so much for this today. We so appreciate your support and all of the things that you've done for our community throughout the years. And we just want to remind everybody so that we can have in-person events again. Please wear your face masks, socially distance from people, and wash. You should just have always washed your hands. This should not be something new.
That should not be a new thing. The mask is a little newer, but we're all doing our part, trying to do our part.
The second golden rule is to always wash your hands.
That's right. At least the golden rule at my house, probably yours too. There you go.
Always was. Well, thank you again, Mark. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope everybody's enjoyed this ATC interview.